Hi guys, welcome back. EryxUK here with volume 10 of my gaming blog thing. So what has happened to me gaming wise over the last month? Magic is still really strong at the club. Sigh. I've been roped into playing two of the tournaments. The most recent one was a booster draft, which I'm not normally keen on. I much prefer the standard deck building, even though it means that the Twinkie players who have the huge collections or whatever can just play really Twinkie. I think you get a far more interesting game. The booster draft, it balances things out a little bit, but it's fairly dull what you can build, and I don't actually see the enjoyment in that others do. But there you go. It also doesn't help that I'm not a big fan of the current set. I did like the original Ravnica block, and I'm not particularly impressed by the return to Ravnica either. Board game wise, we've had a couple of interesting new board games. The best one we played last night, which is a game called Zombicide, which is, if you know the old Zombies tile based game and Last Night on Earth, you will have a good idea of what this is. Basically, your players are survivors, and you have these huge, really large, or slightly, I want to say sort of A4 side tiles, but they're actually square rather than, that sort of size, rough sort of size, and they're like streets with buildings in the middle, and you have doorway tokens to place down to show the ways in, but they're always locked. You have the road markings dictate how far you can move. They represent like the squares or zones, whatever you want to call it. And the idea for the mission we had was that there were 4 buildings and 4 objectives, and you had to get all 4 objectives to win. And what happens is you have certain experience track. Every time you kill a zombie, you gain experience points. Whenever you gain an objective, that player gains 5. And it's a cooperative game, I should point out. And the experience is split over like 4 levels. And as soon as one player reaches the next level, that's it. All the zombies in the game, the new ones that arrive, are based off of the new level. So everyone wants to try and level simultaneously. Although we weren't particularly good at trying to do that. And the gameplay was really quite good. I think there was only 1 or 2 points where at least I stopped with. That doesn't make an awful lot of sense, but it didn't spoil my enjoyment of the game, and I really liked it. So I recommend, if you see that anywhere, check it out, or see if there's a review on YouTube. There must be one somewhere, because that was a really fun game. And apparently there's loads of extra scenarios and a character creator on their website as well, according to my mate. Pardon me. Warhammer wise, last night we wrapped up the Warhammer Fantasy Doubles League. So big shout out to Simon and Marco for winning. Bit of an odd combination. The winning pairings was Bretonia and Chaos Demons. Really odd bedfellows there, but hey. And it's been over really, really quickly. I'm not quite sure whether it's a case of it was doubles, therefore it didn't take even half as long as it probably would have done, or whether people have just given up on fantasy. I've got a funny feeling that we have lost more people from the fantasy side of things, and I'm always hearing that people have become dissatisfied with the Warhammer Fantasy rules. But we'll see. 40k wise, it's been really, really quiet for some reason. It's odd. Ever since 6th edition came out, we've had hardly any games compared to what we would normally have. But I'm kind of hoping that when the new league starts up in 2013, that'll bring everybody back out of the woodwork. Which brings us to a small problem we are kind of having. Way back when, the club was Codex and Forge World legal. At this point, there was only about 4 or 5 of the Forge World Imperial Armour books out, and we allowed them. But as times have gone on, people have become exceedingly dissatisfied with the Imperial armors units and stuff. Basically, it's a case of they're either severely under or overpowered, usually overpowered for the costs. Or, as in the case of one of our players, he says, I don't get anything out of it. And he's true. The only Grey Knight unit in the Forge World stuff is the Grey Knight Thunderhawk, and that's, and that's it. And, understandably, he's not going to fork out 300 odd quid for a resin kit of a plane he might never use. But generally the club has moved away from that. We just want codex only for leagues. Friendly games, play what you want, providing your opponent agrees, or at least knows. But league-wise, we want to play codex. The majority, I'm going to say, it is the majority of the club. Let's be fair. But we have one player who's a really nice guy. I don't want to try and sound like he's being an arse or I'm being an arse or anything like that. But he really likes his Forge World stuff, which I think is really good. But because he's at university and has moved around over the last couple of years, he's not really been sort of like a regular attendee. So I don't think he really quite understands that the club is not run as a democracy. It's, no one has any problems because, if there have been any problems, people have come to me. And I think that's happened once, and even then it was easily rectified. And wasn't anything major. But the club isn't run. I've always made a point of saying you can't run a games club as a democracy, because if you start putting everything to a vote or asking, trying to you'll never please everybody. So just run what the majority like. And this, unfortunately, has raised this issue because he wants the new league to include either include Forge World or have a Forge World separate and Codex league, which is what I was planning to do. Because I don't want the guy to be left out, and I don't want him to sort of have spent his money on this stuff and not get a game. But the problem is that he's the only person who wants to play Forge World, really. I had 3 other people who were willing to play in the Forge World League because they didn't mind, or they didn't mind the challenge. But even then, I know since then, because I made a post on our Facebook page last night, that even they would probably prefer to play Codex only. And I'm kind of feeling a bit of a bind because I don't want to be an arse and go, right, sod it, we'll just do the league. But at the same point, I kind of feel I'm going to have to do it that way. So we've got a little bit of drama going on in that, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm sure we'll come through it fine. On the roleplay front, things are going okay. The Dark Heresy game, unfortunately, has had to be put on hold because of a mixture of player illness and university life getting in the way until probably the new year. Pardon me. But that's fine because we're at a convenient point to stop, kind of like a season cliffhanger, as it were, is pretty much where we ended, which was pretty nifty. Moving around, the alternate Fridays. Tonight we carry on the Rise of the Rune Lords campaign for Pathfinder, which I'm really, really enjoying. Although I have one small kind of little grumble, really, and that is we are finally making some headway in the plot. We found, I'm not going to put any spoilers out because I know there are people out there at the moment playing. We've found, let's call it the local dungeon, and we found some stuff in there, and we've cleared that out and what have you. But then it does appear that the next step is completely player driven. We've been told about something that's going on outside the town where we are, but we've not really been given a particular emphasis to go to it. And I kind of feel that we as players are having to kind of force that issue on an almost artificial level. Not that anyone's complaining, mind, but it does seem slightly. If that's kind of how it appears in the book, then it seems slightly badly written. But no, we're really enjoying that. Unfortunately, in the last game, we lost 3 of our party members. The party they basically 2 of them had been bitten by a Vargul. And their heads were going to detach and fly away and do horrible, horrible things. And unfortunately, we didn't have the means to stop it. For some strange reason, the writers have put this beastie in, but the ability to halt what it does isn't actually in the place where you are. So if it gets you, then you're pretty much screwed. So the party's cleric asked me as the paladin, look, I don't want to turn into one of these things. If it gets to that stage, I want you to kill me. And I'm like, eep. So basically went to his temple there, spoke to the priest, said, look, this is a sitch, we can't do anything about it. Here's what he's asked me to do. My paladin prayed for guidance, and to have a swift, merciful stroke and what have you. And yep, the time came, I had to behead him. And well, actually, I don't think I beheaded. I think I bedded my my axe in his skull rather than beheading, just in case the head flew away. But one of the other characters who had been got was a bit of a nasty piece of work, and had basically decided that if he was going out, he was going to take someone with him. So while we were busy sorting out the cleric, he'd run off and hid. And for some strange reason, I'm not quite sure why, maybe just because he was being evil, he went and hid in the cupboard of one of the other characters in the group, and then that night, when he was asleep, he's like, transformed, nicked over and transformed the other guy, who likewise didn't sort of like so I didn't like go help me guys, or do the same thing, cut my head off or whatever. Instead, he stole a horse and rode out of town. So we know that somewhere out there is another one of these things floating about, and it's going to be like, oh great. So we have 3 new characters to introduce tonight. That leaves just 2 of us, myself and the party's magus, as the only original characters. It's like, which isn't great, let's be fair. So yes, it'll be interesting to see what happens in tonight's game. The alternate Friday is my Cthulhu game. That's come back again after we had a bit of a hiatus, and that went really, really well. They managed to. It's a bit of an odd scenario, but they managed to stop this giant energy being a Loigor, as it's called, from kind of breaking free from its imprisonment and rampaging across Dunwich. And that was a really good game. I mean, there isn't an awful lot to go into that because it was a lot of role playing on that particular one, that particular session, and scouring the swamps and the old, cabins in the woods, that sort of thing. But everyone seems to have really got into that particular game, which is great because, as I've mentioned before when I did a video about this, I wanted to do this 10-year campaign, and unfortunately the start of it went really well, and then there was a few drops out, and then blah. So actually being able to pick it up again and run with it is really sort of like furthered my enthusiasm. And then lastly, that brings us to the 2 Sunday night games. My game is going reasonably well. I do. This is a bit of a bad thing to say, but I do kind of feel that I'm losing a little bit of interest in running it, because the game has had to deviate from my original plan. I'm not going to stop playing it, running it, or anything like that. I'm going to keep going. But my original plan was I had all the original basic D&D modules, and I've been reading through this, and I was going to basically take the maps, take the concepts, and rewrite the dungeons and update them to Pathfinder, and basically tie, not just dungeons but the scenarios, and tie them into the campaign I was trying to run. Unfortunately, I lost access to a printer, so pretty much I was unable to do a load of them. So I had to start coming up with other ideas and what have you. And the campaign has carried on, but it has kind of not been what I wanted it originally to be. So I'm a little bit, but I am still really enjoying the game. Well, a moment, I'm getting a phone call. I should be right back. Oh, welcome back there. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of an important phone call I had to take. So I was like, yes, that particular campaign is still going along nicely. It's just not quite in the vein I had originally hoped to do. and I'm already sort of trying to plan out the next one. I'm actually, what I'm trying to do at the moment, it's going to be a long ways off, but I want to write an adventure path. I want to do the 1st through 20th, and I tell you, I'm having hell of a trouble with it. I can get the first one. I've got the idea of what I want, but I can get the first probably half of it sort of noted down. You know, I'm writing is like, this is a chapter, this is what sort of happens here, this is the next chapter, this happens here, you know, and then sort of brainstorming doing it. But once I start kind of get to the high level bits towards the finale, I'm having a hell of a trouble sort of like trying to, I don't know, put stuff in, as it were. So that's giving me a little bit of grief. But I will come to it. The other game on the Sunday night, I better get to before this video drags out far too long, is my mate's game with its home world. This is what I mentioned before, where we all have like 3 characters, and they're all, so we have 3 different groups all going off doing stuff at the same time. And we are still doing the scenario that doesn't really make any sense. I'm sure he's tweaked it and played with it, pardon me, a little bit to make it a little bit more understandable by us. But there's elements of it that still don't. Anyway, so basically we found out the entire sort of like plot in the Southlands seems to be a kind of coup, civil war type siege of power. The current lord, or the current king, or whatever it is, who rules the land, has no heirs, and he's on his way out. So one of his lords has basically started amassing an army of humanoids and men and dwarves, oddly enough, because I think it was orcs and dwarves were the primaries, and he was basically going to seize power. And I think this is probably why we've been dispatched this way, because it could destabilise the region, sort of thing, around it. So yeah, it's still going on really well. It's still, you know, trying to tie how this particular scenario, the original bit for it, leads into this, still doesn't make an awful lot of sense to us, but I'm sure we'll solve that. He reckons we'll finish it on the next session, which is just over a week's time, and then he's taking a break because he's got to do some studying for his job. Every so often he has to do these exams and things to keep his I don't know, knowledge of current IT and computers and stuff up to date. So one of the other guys is going to take over the running of a game for a little while. I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen there. It should be interesting. I've already made a character for that one. I am playing an Ifrit sorceress with the Ifriti bloodline. Very fire based. Very much a combat mage sort of character. The idea of it burns them all. Is the probably how she'll end up being played. She's a bit of a nutter. But yeah, that's pretty much how my last month has been. December will probably be relatively quiet, so I might not do another one of these vids until beginning of January now. But anyway, thank you for watching, and take care and good gaming.